Today we want to talk about the Bagua 36 and 48 verses. As some of you already know, Dong Huai Chuan, founder of Bagua Zhang, never taught his students the same way. Each student he taught differently based off their capabilities and prior experience. So even more so than other traditional forms, there is a huge amount of variation in how the training and the routines or the forms are done. There is, however, one thing that is consistent, especially with the traditional styles, and that is these 36 and 48 verses. These are four-line, essentially poems, meant traditionally to be memorized, and they're guidelines for how to train the style. Every traditional style has a version of this, and in many ways really is, within these verses, contains the essence of Bagua. I'm working with a translation that was done by my Sifu, Andrea Falk, of this book, which of course I highly recommend, A Shadow on Fallen Blossoms. It's not just simply a translation of those verses. It's actually a comparison, compilation and comparison of these verses across various styles, and noting, of course, the high degree of consistency, which is amazing given that this was an oral tradition. People learning it from their masters and writing it down, passing it on to the next generation. But this particular book also looks at how the terms within the verses vary. And so with that sort of analysis, you also get a deeper understanding of Bagua in all of its styles. So the first verse, foundational structure, which refers largely to Bagua stance as a whole, but specifically to the dragon posture, or the millstone grinding posture. It says, leave the chest empty, pull up the crown, or pull up the crown of the head, settle the waist. Twist within the stance, brace the knees, grasp the ground firmly. Settle the shoulders, weigh down the elbows. The forward hand, extend through the forward hand, or extend to the forward hand. The eyes must gaze through the dragon's, or the tiger's mouth. So if we start at the beginning, leave the chest empty. Don't let it collapse, but also don't puff it out. Don't hold it, push it out. It needs to be left empty. The proper alignment for this, of course, then comes from pull up the crown of the head and settle the waist. In pulling up the crown and settling the waist, meaning this area through here, then you'll have the proper alignment through everywhere else, leaving the chest as it is, right? Twist within the stance. Twisting within the stance, of course, refers to this turn through the midriff. So if we're walking through the circle or on our circle line with the hips, so instead of the hips coming off and turning into the center, the hips are along the circle line. The hands turn in towards the center of the circle, but instead of it being something where the arms are just pointing at the center, you must twist within the stance, turning through this area of the body, twisting through the spine so that the hands can be in the proper position. Right? Twist within the stance, brace the knees. Bracing is an action that happens to add some support to keep something from collapsing or buckling in. With Bagua, of course, we have this interesting feature of this closed stance. The hips specifically are closed, right? But when we close, we don't want the closing of the hips to simply allow the ankles or the knees to collapse. So we have to brace the knees. Bracing the knees keeps the knee, the ankle, and the toes and the foot lined up. And then finally there's grasp the ground firmly. Grasping the ground firmly refers to pressing the toes against the ground and creating like a suction cup behind the ball of the foot and the arch between that and the heel. So instead of grasping the ground where you curl the toes, you press the toes, you use press the toes and the ball of the foot against the ground to create the suction cup effect, which holds the foot and stabilizes the ankle. Right? From there, now we're onto the upper body. Settle the shoulders. From here, set the shoulders. Use the shoulder blades. Pull the shoulder blades down. Weigh down the elbows. These two are sort of combined. You can't do one without the other, really. From here, you have to weigh down the elbows and settle the shoulders, the two together. Get your arms in the correct position. Extend the forward palm. Right? The eyes must look through the tiger's mouth. Tiger's mouth is, of course, the space between the thumb and the index finger. That's the tiger's mouth. So this gives you a sense of where to position this hand. It's not down here. It's not up here. You have to be able to have it at a height where you can extend through and look through the tiger's mouth. Same thing on the other side, of course. Coming through into here. Leave the chest empty, pull up the crown, settle the waist. Twist within the stance, brace the knees, grasp the ground firmly. Settle the shoulders, weigh down the elbows. The forward hand extends forward. The eyes must gaze through the tiger's mouth. So that is the first verse of the 36 and 48 verses. We'll look at some of the key ones as we go through, but this one and the second one, the one that we'll do next, have a lot of the key foundations for building the right frame, the right structure, so that you can actually gain the full benefit of the circle walking training and the stance that changes. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.